welcome to my channel. This is Strong Mind Soft Heart and my name is Joelle and I'm so happy to have you here today. I want to share today our journey to homeschooling and give you some of the reasons for why we choose to homeschool. Even though my husband is a school teacher, why we choose to homeschool. So first off, I'll just give a little bit of an intro. My name is Joelle, I just said that, and David and I, my husband, we have 5 beautiful children, aged from almost 12 to just 2 years old, 3 boys and 2 beautiful girls, and we are very blessed indeed. My husband is a pastor and he's also a school teacher, and I want to say from the get-go, I got nothing against school teachers. I'm married to one, they're awesome. And you know, I appreciate the school system and I appreciate the wonderful job that they do, but for us, we have chosen a different path, and that is homeschooling. And so I want to give you basically the background and some reasons why. Maybe you are new to homeschooling, you're just finding out about it. Maybe you need some homeschool encouragement. Perhaps you don't homeschool, but you're interested as to why people choose to homeschool. Well, I hope this video can give you some answers. So to begin with, when my firstborn son, Joseph, was born, I never in a million years thought that I would homeschool. I had a very bad, opinion of homeschooling, I guess. I had met like one or two families that homeschooled what I thought in a way that seemed pretty good. And then I met some homeschooled families that I was like, no, I will never do that. I don't mean to sound mean. And listen, now that I've come further along in my homeschooling journey, I was probably very wrong to think that about those people. But at the time, I didn't have a good impression of homeschooling. So never set out to homeschool was the furthest thought from my mind. And when my son was born, it would have been the first or second night of him after he was born. I had the strangest dream. I dreamt that I was on a school bus, dropping off Joseph to school. And as we were getting off at his stop, I just looked at him, and I think we actually got off the bus and, you know, we were walking towards the school, and I looked at him and he looked at me and he didn't want to go. And I said, oh, you don't have to go, baby. That's okay. Let's get back on the bus. And we went on the bus and went back home. Anyway, that was a really bizarre dream. And I remember waking up thinking, why on earth did I have that dream? And still, homeschooling was just not even on the radar for us. Was always going to send my kids to school. I went to school K to 12, actually preschool to year 12, and my husband also, so it was never in the plans for us. Fast forward to, well, when my son turned 1, he started to have some health issues, and I just want to say, praise God, now he's much better and we're in a much better place. But at the time, it was a little bit scary and unsettling, being able to, you know, put him in creche or nurseries or daycare or anything like that. I didn't feel like I could do that with him, just given the medical things that were happening in his life at that time. Now, where we lived, this is back in Western Sydney, the school that we had in mind to enroll him in for kindergarten, you have to enroll about at least 2 years in advance pretty much now, because it's a very popular school. And so at the time he would have been 3, and he was still having these situations, and I could not enroll him. Like, I just could not put his name down on paper because I couldn't bear the thought of him, you know, suffering or having something happen to him, you know, outside of the home, basically, at such a young, tender age. So I didn't put his name down. And then he turned 4, and I'm like, okay. And at this point, I'd never put him in daycare. The most I had done was the creche of our church. And even then, I was sometimes quite scared to do that. It took a bit of encouragement. And this is not like a separation anxiety thing on my part. Trust me, I am totally fine to have time away from my kids. But it was a quite fearful experiences that we went through together, and so I didn't want to leave him, you know, outside of my care or my husband's care. Anyway, so I just ended up preschooling him at home. I never enrolled him into a preschool. We just did preschool stuff at home, still in the back of my mind thinking, oh, we'll probably get on the waiting list, you know, at some point, and I'll be, and then I remember thinking, oh, I'll send him when he's 6. So we've still got a chance. I won't start him at 5, I'll start him at 6. Anyway, he turned 5. And I just realized, because we were still having this, these conditions, that my husband and I, we could not send him at that point. So we actually began homeschool kindergarten out of a necessity rather than so much a desire. I started to become more interested in it as I was researching what to do, and but I was still quite nervous about it all, and it was very foreign to me. I was blessed to have I'd still have a best friend who had decided to go the homeschooling route, although she decided like from birth, and so her kids were not yet homeschooled, but I knew she would be homeschooling her children, so that was a bit encouraging. But other than that, I felt really just out in the open, all alone. But we started doing kindergarten at home, and we just fell in love. It became a love. It was born out of necessity, but it turned into something that we loved. And the more we did it, the more we reading and writing and excursions and science and all these things. It was absolutely wonderful, and he loved it and I loved it. Fast forward to when his younger brother was born. So Isaac was born, and he would have been, I'm trying to remember. My timeline is a little bit wacky here, but there was one point when Joseph was still older kindergarten age, that we did actually put him into kindergarten for one term. We thought, let's just give it a go, because what if we're making a mistake? That's right. When we started homeschooling, I was still so just unsure in my ability to be able to do it that I was like, let's just put him in school for a term. I was then having some health problems too, and I thought, well, let's just try it. And he went for one term. He didn't like it. I didn't like it. We were so relieved when we decided to bring him home. He was relieved and I was relieved, and we're like, let's never do that again. So that was, our little experience with school. It wasn't a bad experience. He had an okay time at school. It's just that he loved homeschooling, and I loved it too. So of course, naturally, when Isaac, my second oldest son, was school age, I started doing preschool with him at home and kindergarten, and then Darius as well. And so we've just sort of grown and gotten into the pattern of it. Lily as well is now kindergarten age, and I'm homeschooling her, and then Michaela is 2, so she's just tagging along for the ride at the moment. This may be quite a long video. I hope I don't go too long, so I'm just going to try to talk really fast. That's why I'm talking so fast. So anyway, my husband, about 5, almost 6 years ago, decided that he was going to go to university to become a PHPE high school teacher. He's always been a personal trainer. He was a personal trainer pretty much straight out of high school. He's trained for many, many years, and he loves the fitness industry and all of that. And so he went, and he was thinking, will I do sports science? What will I do? But then sort of one thing led to another, and he's like, well, why don't I do teaching? And he's a wonderful teacher. He is an excellent teacher. It fits him like a glove, and he loves it. He absolutely loves to teach. So he went, and all through his university journey, we just homeschooled, and it was, at times stressful with, lots of kids and a husband that still worked basically full-time and was studying full-time. And we had Michaela during that time as well. And so there was a lot going on, but the flexibility that homeschooling brought with it was just amazing. We have traveled overseas during that time. We've gone to Europe. We've just, I have to make another video as to all the experiences and wonderful things we've been able to do when COVID hit and the lockdowns and all of that. It was hard. I know it was hard on everybody, but it hit us because we missed our friends and we missed going out and doing all the wonderful things we get to do. But as far as being home and just, our education wasn't interrupted because we were already set up and we could just keep going. So now here we are. My husband works as a pastor and a school teacher. We've moved to Canberra and we're still homeschooling. And, we have the option. There's so many good schools around us, and yet we still choose to homeschool. Now, the reasons for why we do that are many, but I hope that I can just give you a few for this video. So the first reason that my husband and I both, even though he's a school teacher, he also makes this decision with me. I've made it with him together. We prayerfully make these decisions, is because we have prayed about it and we feel a real peace to continue on with homeschooling. We don't homeschool from a fear-based place, not at all. Like, I'm not afraid for my kids to go to school. If they want to go to school, I would never stop them from wanting to go. But at this point, they don't want to go. And I'm really happy to continue with our homeschooling. So we've prayed about it and we have a real peace. The second reason we continue to homeschool is that I just love, as a Christian, I love that we get to put our faith first and then the education follows with it, and it's a wonderful education. But you know, you can hear my beautiful children in the background now. It's a wonderful way that, you know, we start our day with a prayer and a devotion, and it's and I know you can do that in a Christian school as well. Of course, my husband works in a Catholic school and they have some very similar things as well, but it's more the fact that we get to do this together as a family, and it's not rushed, and it's a part of our day. It's a part of our life together. It's not something we have to necessarily do. It's more who we are and how we function as a family. So I absolutely love that we get to do that every day. The third reason we choose to continue to homeschool is that I am such a firm believer that children all learn at their own pace. I absolutely love self-led learning. I love children being able to go at the pace that they are ready to go at. Often, and I would love to make another video on this in itself, that doesn't mean that I don't push them, you know, when they need a bit of a push to keep going, but I also don't push them if they're not ready. And so my kids have, you know, rarely ever felt behind or inadequate or anything like that, because I'm so not worried and I'm not panicked whatsoever that they won't get a concept. I know that they will get a concept when they need to. For example, I have one child who is so unbelievably gifted in one area, and in another area is really struggling. And if this child was in the school system right now in this particular area, they would for sure be labeled as behind. But in homeschooling, there's no such thing as behind. You're on your own journey, and I have full confidence that by the time this child is 13, 14, 15, they would have gotten this concept long ago, completely and totally, and not have suffered the, you know, the feelings of, you know, feeling like they're dumb or they're behind or they're not good enough. Like, that just doesn't exist in our homeschooling world. So I absolutely love homeschooling for that reason. The fourth reason is that I love the family bond and the family relationship. Don't get me wrong. Oh my goodness, we fight. I fight with my kids fight with me, my kids fight with each other, I fight with me. It can be, you know, it can be pretty full on sometimes, but it's because we love each other and we live together and we are such a close-knit family, and we actually do enjoy being together. Obviously, we all need our quiet time, we all need our alone time. That's important in any family, in any situation, and we need to make sure that that happens. But overall, we are a family that loves to be together because we are together. And, you know, I just love it when my kids are just out in the main area of the house, and one of them's reading and one of them's watching a show and one of them's doing a puzzle, and they're all doing their own things, and yet they're together. And I think that's because we've always been that way. The first house we lived in with kids was so tiny, and we had our first 4 children at that house, and I was homeschooling 3 of them at the time, and it was a tiny house. Like, you would walk in and the living room and the kitchen and the dining room were all within a few steps. Like, it was all one room. It was just everywhere, and I only had this one little tiny cupboard for our homeschooling. That's the only room I had, and we were just in that space together all day. And, you know, of course, not all day. I mean, we went out, we did stuff, but as far as, you know, our life, we just lived there and we loved it. It just did not bother us. In that same little house, 4 of my children shared a room at the same time. Now, nowadays, one of them, the oldest one, has his own room, and then 2 of them share and 2 of them share. There's a lot more room, and they're nice, big, spacious rooms, but they still love to be together because that's just the way it's always been. And the 5th reason why we choose to homeschool is I just love the flexibility. I have to be honest, I don't think I'm ever going to get over the absolute privilege of going away on holidays when it's not school holidays. The prices are lower, the crowds are down. We went to Queensland in March of this year, and we went to Dreamworld. We had the park entirely to ourselves. Literally no lines. We could ride rides over and over again. The accommodation we got is usually ridiculously priced. We got it for so low. It was just amazing. And this sort of thing happens all the time. We've got a conference coming up. I have no problem packing the kids up and just taking them with us. I'm not worried about it because we get to make our own timetable. Homeschooling for us, it's not something we do, it's just a part of who we are. It's part of our lifestyle. So, you know, yes, we definitely take breaks, but I don't necessarily have to follow a school term or school holidays or that sort of thing. We just do what suits our family best. I want my kids to have a love for learning. It's not an institution that they learn at. They just learn to love learning. And that's like such a passion for me, is that they would love to learn. And so in the home environment, when they can learn at ease, when there's no pressure of the exams and the, you know, there's just the demands that come with school. And as I said, I'm not anti-school, but I am very grateful that at this stage of our lives, our children are in home, learning at ease, getting a wonderful education, growing with their bonds, you know, together, and of course with friends outside of the home as well. That is very important. I'm not covering all of these topics in one video. There are many things we could cover, but I just want to give you that little snapshot into why we choose to homeschool. And yeah, I hope that can give you some information. If you homeschool, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you don't homeschool but you've got questions, I'd love to hear from you too. Chat with me in the comments or connect with me on Instagram. I will try to put my handle up right here. And so I would love to connect with you there as well. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you very soon with another video. God bless you. Bye.